Moving on, we have Gate, Jieitai, Kanochi, Nite, Kaku, Tatakaeri. And I didn't write a translation because apparently there wasn't one. Great. The story begins when a gate appears in Tokyo's Ginza district. From the gate pours out monsters, knights from Middle-aged Europe, and other fantasy-like beings, and they kill many of the citizens of Tokyo. The government sends a small group of soldiers from the Japanese Self-Defense Force to the alternate world beyond the gate, led by a Taku soldier Yoji. They find that the villages in the world are being attacked by a dragon. An elf girl who is a survivor from the dragon's rampage joins the group in their travels across the dangerous new world. So it seems kind of interesting. You're like, oh, there's a soldier dude, and he goes in, fights the demons, teams up with the girls, and they do the things. This is okay. Apparently, this is politically as fucking weird and disturbed as Mahoka. As in, like, extremely fucking racist against Chinese. Basically, the demons and the knights and the monsters that come from the portal, and then the mysterious world that the soldier goes to through the portal is China. Like, it's a very vague, shitty metaphor for China and Chinese people. Or I guess the Chinese soldiers, I guess. I don't fucking know. It gets ugly. Because as it becomes more obvious that that's what it is, it's like, oh, this is a thing. Yeah, and I don't really want to get Mahoka in my system again, even though I disliked Mahoka for way more than just that. Sweet Jesus. There was a guy who actually tried to argue with me that my comparison of Tatsuya to Jesus was going overboard. Like, are you fucking serious? There was, like, an actual screenshot from, like, the last episode or second to last episode where he was, like, literally in the air and, like, sunset lighting was behind him and, like, making him glow as he floated in the air. Like, that was literally Jesus imagery 101. He was fucking Jesus. They were not subtle about it. Anyways, enough about Mahoka. So, yeah, I don't really want to get into this kind of shit again because I've seen where it leads me and I don't like it. So I'm just going to leave it on the sidelines. It can stay there. I'm not going to touch it. For those of you who are interested, you should know that very interestingly, the director for this did Love Live. And not just like season 1 and season 2 of Love Live, but like a lot of Love Live shit. Like fucking music videos, some random short things, which I think were also music videos. I don't know. His track record, he's done like fucking everything related to Love Live. Which is really, really weird to put someone like that on board as director for this. It's strange, to say the least, but I guess he wanted something new. He was just, maybe he was forced to do all that Love Live stuff, and he's like, I can't take it anymore. Give me something racist to adapt. And so now he's doing this. I don't know. I have no idea. It's weird. Honestly, looking up this information for directors and writers for these various shows has only served to make me even more confused about what I should think about these shows. So you're welcome for that, if I'm also making you more confused. Anyways, we are like more than 30 minutes in, and we're only like on the fucking 4th row. So I need to pick it the fuck up. I thought this was going to go faster because I had notes I could just go off of and we'd be done, but apparently not. So it's time to enter quick round mode. Next we have Classroom Crisis. Humanity has successfully colonized all the planets in the solar system with intentions to continue into new frontiers. Individuals live stable lives in these colonies, including young high school students living in the 4th Tokyo on Mars. 2 of these students are Iris Shirizaki and Mizuki Sera. Iris is finishing her last year of high school while studying to be a test pilot, while her friend Mizuki also works as a mechanic on the aircraft. Her own brother Kaito oversees Mizuki and Iris as their homeroom teacher and program director. So basically, as you can tell by the genres of school and slice of life, this is basically a slice of life. They're just like random people doing things in school, and that's it. What's interesting is that the production company is Les Douces, who I've never heard of before. They've probably done like shorts and shit before, I don't know. But the character art looks good based on this promo image, so that's good. I guess. I guess if you're looking for a show where not a whole lot happens, it just follows characters around as they do school stuff, then this is perfect for you. Because the art looks good. That's the only gauge I know how to do for shows where, like, it's school life and then nothing happens. It's like, well, the art's good. Because it's not like there's a story to go off of or anything. It's not like there's any real directing that needs to be done, unless it's, like, character-centric directing, I guess. I don't fucking know. But if that's what you want, here you go. Did I write anything for this? Yes, I did. The director did Mobile Suit Gundam 00, interestingly enough, and then also directed a couple S2 episodes. Apparently they... Oh, okay, hang on, I read that wrong. Well, I didn't read that wrong, it's just that there's more. He directed Mobile Suit Gundam 00 and some episodes of Season 2 of that. He also directed number 6 and some episodes of Monster. So, that's very interesting. That's a very erratic track record. I guess directing-wise, all of those were fine, although I haven't actually watched Mobile Suit Gundam 00. I haven't watched pretty much any Gundam series. Because I'm one of those people who only got introduced to Gundam when Gundam Wing was airing on Toonami, and a lot of people consider... Well, Gundam fandom's weird. Like, there are people who, like, have various opinions on what the worst Gundam was, but it seems like, for the most part, people agree that Gundam Wing was the worst, although there's obviously some very, like, dedicated Wing fans that are like, no, that's not true. But Wing was the impression where I was like, it's just a bunch of robots floating in space, occasionally shooting lasers at each other, and blah, 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 and things like that. So I've never actually really watched any Gundam, because that was my first impression. I was like, I don't really care. So I don't really know about directing-wise for that, but the others had, solid directing, so, there you go. Also very interesting is that the writer is the guy who made Saikano How to Raise a Boring Girlfriend, which is that Noidamine show from a season or two ago. Well, it wasn't last season, because that was Punchline. It may have been the season before that. And I don't mean just, like, the guy who adapted it to Noidamine. I mean, like, he literally wrote Saikano, like, the manga or the light novel. I don't know what it was adapted from, but he wrote that. Like, he's the one writing this anime now. He also apparently wrote White Album 2, which I have heard from people who saw that was apparently a lot better than the first White Album. Like, a lot of people actually really liked White Album 2, apparently. So, decent track record as far as the writer goes. And as far as I know, White Album 2 is also one of those shows where not a whole lot happens and it's character-centric. So this could be something similar writing-wise, so maybe it's going to be also good? See, now I'm starting to get into the groove here around this area of what I should write for the notes and what interests people. So if you liked Saikano How to Raise a Boring Girlfriend and White Album 2 writing-wise, the same writer who wrote the original material and then also helped adapt them into the anime is doing this. He wrote Classroom Crisis. Or she. I don't fucking know. I need to include those parts next season. So if that interests you, there you go. And like I said, the director has a pretty solid track record, so... Like, the staff on board is solid. It's just a matter of what actually happens in the show. Anyways, but I gave you an impression, writing-wise, of what you should expect and whether you should be interested or not. Moving on, we have... God, I was like, we're gonna enter bullet time mode, and then I spent, like, extra fucking time on Classroom Crisis. And was like, oh, sweet Jesus, I'm never gonna get these done quickly. Moving on, we have Zenki Zesshou Symphogear ZX, which is a sequel to second season of Symphogear, so this is the third season or something? I don't know. Symphogear is weird as shit, and it has a pretty dedicated fan base, and if you're one of those people, bam. Moving on, we have, I need to scroll down, Shimoneta to Iu Gainen ga Sonzai Shinai Takatsu na Sekai, which translates to, and this is very important because some people don't seem to get this when they read the synopsis, the title translation is A Boring World Where the Concept of Dirty Jokes Doesn't Exist. Which is also kind of annoying because it's one of those light novel titles where it's like, this is long and it's way too direct. Give me Plastic Memories again. Plastic Memories was... I'm not going to get into my opinions of Plastic Memories. That's going to take fucking forever. But, like, as far as title goes, Plastic Memories had the perfect title. It was short. It was theme relevant. That's really all you need. I don't need these long as fuck titles where it basically literally tells you what's going to happen. Or whatever. At least this isn't literally like, my little sister can't possibly be this cute, you know? At least this is a boring world where the concept of dirty jokes doesn't exist. You know, I mean, it literally does describe the world, but at least it doesn't tell you what's going to happen. Like, I guess technically, Little Sister doesn't either, but you can get a good idea. Anyways, spending way too much time. 16 years after the law for public order and morals and healthy child raising banned chorus language in the country, Tanukichi Okuma enrolls in the country's leading elite public moral school and is soon invited into the anti-societal organization SOX by its founder, Ayame Kaku. As a member blackmailed into joining by Ayame, Tanukichi ends up taking part in obscene acts of terrorism against the talented student council president Anna, for whom Tanukichi has a crush. So basically what happens in this, as far as I'm aware of, is that basically they just do random fucking obscene things, and sorry, that was my mouth that made that noise. I was trying to do a click, and it was louder than it was supposed to be. Basically, they just do random obscene and lewd things. Well, not necessarily lewd things, but they would do random obscene things, and that's it. Like running around with underwear on your head and screaming cock at the top of your lungs. Things like that. What's interesting is that this is pretty obviously, because if you don't know, there was obviously a law passed in Japan a while ago about, the not specifically the law for public order and morals and healthy child raising, but it's the thing that banned, a bunch of like shit, like it shut off, or it caused the Akisora manga to stop. There were other mangas that were targeted too. Basically they're like, no, this is immoral, we can't do this, and it was like really overboard though. Like covering shit that was like, this is fiction, who gives a shit, things like that. And this is very obviously a commentary on that. Like, it's pretty obvious, it's pretty on the nose. So it's interesting in that regard, which is why it's hilarious when people look at that and they're like, oh, it's stupid, obscene fan service bullshit. Because that's entirely the fucking point, although it's not, like, pointless. It's not pandering, obscenity. It's commentary obscenity. As in, yo, fuck this law, it's stupid as shit. And this is basically, like, the commentary on, like, how stupid that fucking law is, and things like that. So if you like it in that meta regard, then there you go. Sorry, I keep clicking my tongue. It's a bad habit. So, yeah, there's that. Staff-wise, I don't think there was anything too noticeable. The director pretty much has only done hentai oji as far as full directing goes. Otherwise, he's basically just done minor episode directing here and there on other things. Yeah. So that's not really much to go off of. Like, hentai oji's directing was whatever, but it's like the only show that he's directed, so it doesn't really say much. Not to mention it's, obviously an adaptation, so it doesn't really say anything about him if he was just going literally adaptation-wise off of it, so, I want to watch it because I like that it's, a giant middle finger to a very stupid law, and I'd like to support that by watching it, because that supports it somehow. I want to watch it because I just like seeing when authors have, like, a very intentional purpose behind things they do. So, like, whenever something really obscene happens, I can just see the author's middle finger just rise up in front of the government's office building. I just like that mental image. So, yeah, and I want to see it because apparently it's decently amusing. Especially if you keep in mind the whole fact that it's a commentary on the law and stuff like that. Moving on, we have Durarara X210, which obviously is the second half of the new season Durarara that started. If you didn't know, Durarara, the new season, has been split into 3 different parts. The first part aired not last season, but the season before that. This is the second part, which is going to air this season, and then it'll take probably another season off, and then the final third part will air. I'm behind. Don't spoil things for me. Even though I don't really know how you spoil things in Durarara. There's not really a plot. It's just characters do things, and then they happen to interconnect. Because that's how Narita says he writes. He just basically writes a bunch of characters, and then they do things. Like he's mentioned before, like he doesn't really write anything. Like he just makes these characters, and then they just sort of do things. Like, he doesn't really, like, force them to do stuff. It's just given their personality and stuff like that, they just kind of do things, and then stuff just happens to play out. Because that's how Naruto writes. Like, that should be obvious if you've seen Baccano and Durarara. Like, that's just how it goes. Like, he doesn't intentionally make these scenarios. It's just the characters being themselves. And then they just happen to be nearby. Like, that's probably the most meddling he does, is the positioning of characters if they just happen to be there for certain things. Stuff like that. But yeah, that's a new season. Moving on, we have Charlotte. The story centers around the special abilities that occur among a small percentage of boys and girls in puberty. Yu Otusaka uses his power without others knowing, and lives a fairly normal average school life. Before him suddenly appears a girl. Now Tamori. Due to his meeting with her, the fate of special power users will be exposed. So, if you didn't know, Junmeta is back. Yay. And he's writing an anime. Because that worked so well last time! You guys remember how fantastic Angel Beats was and how there weren't gigantic plot holes? I remember that. That was good times. Anyways, he's back, he's writing. Obviously, it should be obvious by now, I don't have the most fond feelings for Meta at all. And pretty much everyone on board for this is pretty much the exact same staff that did Angel Beats. Like, the music is on board. I'm pretty sure that even the chick who did the opening song for Angel Beats is back and doing the opening again. Like, it's literally the same staff. With one exception. I mentioned before that Seiji Kishi was the one who directed Angel Beats. However, he isn't directing this, probably because he's busy directing that Norimane show. The director for this is, I didn't write his name, but he was assistant director on Captain Earth and Star Driver, which are shows that I fucking love for their writing and directing. So I'm hoping that some of Taka Igarashi's directing technique rubbed off on him, and I am actually going to watch Charlotte. If it's unbearable, I'll drop it. That's pretty much how these shows tend to go. They get unbearable at a point, and I just fucking drop them. But I'm going to be watching this purely directing-wise, because I literally could not give less of a shit about Junmeta. I really couldn't. So I'm just hoping that the director, like I said, has a lot of Taka Igarashi in him, and that's going to show up in the directing, because that would absolutely save the show. I could just not give a single shit about the writing and just love the directing. I would be fine with that. I would love for that to actually be the case, because that would be great. It'd give me a reason to watch it. That's good. Wow, I am pissing off so many Junmeta fans. Also important to note, although I guess it's not that important, it's the same sound director as Angel Beats, but something I realized is that the sound director, obviously, as I just said, who also did Angel Beats, is very seasoned. Their track record is insane. They've done so many shows. So, they know what the fuck they're doing, I would hope, because they've done so many fucking shows. So maybe that's also something to keep an eye on, sound directing-wise. And also, if the director does have some Taka Igarashi on him, he'll probably work with the sound director and make things work in that regard, because that's something Taka Igarashi did a lot for Star Driver, is that he worked with the sound director to make scenes mesh really fucking well with the music, and like the tone of the scene would mesh perfectly with like the rise and dips of the music. Like whenever like certain tracks start off kind of mellow, and then there's a point where they peak, and then they're like kind of stay at that peak until the rest of the song. There are scenes where they would be at that kind of low keyness kind of aspect, even though things are happening. And then as the song hits that peak, that's when shit starts happening. You know, like that's part of what I really love about Taka Igarashi's directing, is he's just so minute detail about things, especially when it comes to the sound. That wasn't so much the case for Captain Earth. It wasn't like it was completely non-existent. It's just that I like Star Driver a lot more. Now I'm starting to talk about Star Driver and Captain Earth. I can't help it. When shows that I like come up, I want to talk about them. That's why I started a fucking YouTube channel. Anyways, I think that's pretty much all I have to say about Charlotte. Fuck Junmeta. Hopefully this new director's cool. Should have wrote his name. Sorry about that, dude. Moving on, we have Working, which is the 3rd season. You can tell by the number of exclamation points. If you liked Working before, you're probably gonna like it now, so there you go. Next we have Kurayami Santa. Set in 1960s Kyushu, the story centers around Santa, a familiar from Hell who is charged with maintaining the border between Hell and the human world. Santa's mission has him crossing paths with many humans and supernatural creatures. What's very interesting is these are 3-minute shorts. And the technique that they're doing for this is that they're overlaying animation over archived 1960s footage. Like, actually, live action 1960s footage, and they're just gonna have this character and like maybe some other stuff kind of like overlap with the live action footage to give this kind of like weird spiritual feel to it. Like there's live action things going on, and then you could see the weirdly animated character kind of like going along with the setting, which really works actually quite well for this synopsis, because it says that he's a familiar from hell who starts with maintaining the border between hell and the human world. So he's like this spirit thing in the human world, so it makes sense that, you know, he looks different than everyone else, which is why overlaying it over live action was actually a really fucking smart move. The problem is I doubt this will get simulcasted or anything anywhere, but I'd actually be really interested in watching these shorts if it gets that treatment, because I really like that they did that. That was really clever. Pretty much all the staff on board for this are brand new, apparently, especially the director. Apparently, if I say especially, my notes say especially the director, so I'm guessing that means he's like pretty much never directed anything before. He's brand new. And if it was his idea to do this overlay technique for this show and not like the producer, then he's a director to keep an eye on, because that means he is quite creative. Which is why I would like to get to see this, because I want to see how well they do with the technique. It'd be very interesting to see. Anyways, moving on, we have Boo Boo Boy. A young boy has adventures with his transforming car. It's a fucking DLE short. It's probably gonna be Flash shorts because it's DLE. There's like literally no information otherwise on this. I didn't even bother to write anything. This is probably not gonna get simulcasted anyway, so who gives a shit? Moving on, we have Gatchaman Crowds Insight. Yes. If you watched the first season of Gatchaman Crowds and liked it, here's the second season. I have the first episode downloaded. I want to watch it, but it was motivation for me to get the season preview done so then I could watch it. I'm really happy for this. It's so interesting because Gatchaman Crowds is like kind of weird and something that I don't think I would normally like, but I did. Like especially the main character Hajime. She's so fucking weird and like normally has like this personality that I find really fucking annoying in most shows. But considering the events that happen in Gatchaman Crowds and the other characters and the tone, her personality works so fucking well. It's so cool, like how good it is, and largely I credit that to Kenji Nakamura as a director, who I honestly do feel is quite underrated. He has a very dedicated following, but I really like Kenji Nakamura as a director. The show you probably know him most for, other than obviously the first season of Gatchaman Crowds, is probably Suritama, which was really weird but cool. It was neat. So it's nice to see Kenji Nakamura doing stuff, because I like him. But yeah, it's second season. If you watched the first season, here you go. Here's the second season. Bam. Moving on, we have Rakano Yusha. When the Majin awoke from the depths of darkness, the deity of fate chose 6 heroes and bequeathed them with the power to save the world. Adoredo, the boy who proclaims himself the strongest on Earth, was selected among the Rakano Yusha, heroes of the 6 flowers, and he goes to the rendezvous point, but 7 have gathered there. The heroes suspect that someone among the 7 is the enemy, and the initial suspicion falls on Adoredo. So, this is actually, it's been a long time, but we have a dark horse of the season, or at least my opinion, it's a dark horse of the season. I could see this falling either way on the entertainment scale. So, hence the dark horse. I have really high hopes for it. I took some notes on it, but I'll get to those in a minute. What's interesting is it's being done by animation studio Passion, who I've never heard of, which means they've either done nothing before or they've done shorts. That's generally how it goes, unless I don't fucking know. So I what was I gonna say? I lost my train of thought. It'll be really interesting to go into this, and I actually this is actually something you should watch if you're tired of things like Sword Art Online and Danmachi and stuff like that, because even though this isn't like things that take place in this doesn't take place in a virtual world, it has some of the similar elements of it. Like there are powers that each of the characters have, and things like that. But it's like a fully developed world with lore and stuff like that. Like as I looked up the staff for this, the lore for this world is actually like in depth. Like there's like this demon who comes out and he has to be stopped, and this one hero manages, who at the time was just the hero of the petal or flower, or just there was one of them. I think it was a woman. if I remember correctly. And she sealed the demon, and then every once in a while he awakens. And the way it works is that if he stays awake for 40 days, he'll get his power back. So that's why whenever he awakens, there's 6 heroes that are chosen by flower petals, some kind of flower petal marking on them or something. And then they have to go and they have to put him to sleep before those 40 days have passed, so that he doesn't get his power back. And also I looked up, I didn't want to spoil myself, so I didn't go too in depth on the descriptions, like reading them, but I looked up some of the characters' descriptions, and fucking shit, man, there's like pages of information on them. Like, there's so much information. Like, these characters are so fucking well thought out with like backstories and how they came to be the people they are, and stuff like that. Like, if you're into that kind of thing, like these developed worlds with thought into the backstory and the characters and how they came to be the people they are, and things like that, this is absolutely something you should check out, because there looks like there's so much detail and thought put into the world and characters that's really interesting. And I know it's really easy to look at that money girl in the promo art and be like, it's gonna be stupid fan service bullshit or something like that. But honestly, given what I read, I actually doubt that that's the case at all. Not to mention that obviously the ecchi genre isn't even on the genre list, although obviously the genre titles can be wrong. Like, people sometimes put the wrong labels on, sometimes they miss labels, things like that. But I honestly really doubt it. Like, she probably has some super fucking sad as shit backstory, given what I looked at. This is something that's really interesting to me, and I really want to be good. Because it's so interesting. I like when characters come up with these worlds, and especially the characters, like I mentioned, they come up with these interesting backstories for them, and like these events that happen to them that mold them into the people there are. And it's a pretty equal opportunity group. From what I saw, there's just as many girls in the group as there are men. And as far as I'm aware of, there actually may be more women than men in the group. So it's a nice diverse cast. And it'll be really interesting because obviously there's the traitor in there, and you'll probably get to know all the characters. I can see it going either way. Either you find out who the traitor is quickly, but then for some reason they have to stick around and you get to know them and you like them. Or it's the opposite. You get to know and like all the characters, and then when one turns out to be the traitor, you're like, no, I don't want it to be them. No. Stuff like that. And either way, it could be really interesting, although I bend more towards the latter. I like getting to know characters than being like, no, I don't want it to be them. So I just have really high hopes for this. Like I said, it's a dark horse. I don't really know enough about it to say for sure that it's going to be good. It could end up being really boring for all I know. Like, not much could happen. It could be one of those light novels where the first, novel comes out. They had a lot of thought on the backstory and the characters, and all of that gets covered in the first novel. And then, they come to the second novel and they're like, well, what the fuck do we do now? But I don't think that's the case. I have high hopes. It looks really good. I like it. Notes wise, I'm sorry I spent so much time on this, but this actually, it looks really promising to me, so I'm really hoping that people give it a shot, which is why I wanted to give the time to go over all that stuff. I'll go over my notes really quickly. The script adapter did series composition work on Monster, so that's a good sign. Obviously these are both adaptations, which is why I felt the need to put that in, because even though the script adapter is not writing their own thing, they've adapted Monster before, and a lot of people like Monster, obviously. That's a fucking great show. So this could be same idea. The director, interestingly enough, is very, very mixed. He directed Maoyu Yusha and both seasons of Spice and Wolf, which people seem to generally like both of them, Spice and Wolf especially. But he also directed So I Can't Play H, that one show, and then Yosuga no Sora. And the impression I get from that track record is that the source material does a lot in defining how the director turns out as far as the show goes. That's how well he does. Because I'd say Mao Yusha is probably just okay, and the show was okay. That was redundant. Probably because the source material was just okay. So if the source material of Rock no Yusha is good, then the show will probably turn out good, because the director is that kind of director. At least that's the impression I get from his track record. Anyways, we're in! Woohoo! We're running late as fuck! Thank God. I'm gonna go faster now because that was the one show I was waiting for. All these other shows I can get through a lot quicker. All right, moving on. We have Dragon Ball Chou. If you didn't know, this is a new Dragon Ball series that's being written. It takes place after the Buu saga, but before GT because fuck GT. Toriyama's back on board, so fuck yeah. Funimation has the license for Dragon Ball, so I'm hoping they actually get the rights to simulcast this, because that'd be really cool. It'd be nice to watch Dragon Ball again, especially if they do a simuldub for it, because I grew up on the dub for DBZ, so it's hard for me to watch DBZ any other way. It has a lot of good voice actors on board, though, honestly. Like, I'll defend that. Like, a lot of people are like, oh, the dub for DBZ is shit. No, I think the dub for DBZ is actually quite solid. It has pretty fucking solid people on board. There are a couple characters that are iffy, but for the large part, the main cast, like, I can't remember the voice actors' names because my brain is fried and I need to get through this quickly. But Goku and Vegeta are solid, you know, as far as voice acting goes. Like, I know a lot of people give the Goku voice actor shit, but I don't see it. Or hear it, I guess I should say. Anyways, moving on. I gotta get through this quickly. Venus Project Climax. The story is set in Japan in the future. Not too long from now. I don't know why that threw me through a loop. In this world, data devices and video technology have been progressing to new heights, and people are abuzz about a new form of entertainment, Formula Venus. In Formula Venus, or FV, the chosen top idols battle in live performances with their willpower, skills, and other experience gained. Sounds kind of like a video game. But it's an original work, interestingly enough. Staff-wise, there's not really much to say. The writer hasn't done much other than some random manga that you've probably never heard of. And I can't really say anything about because I didn't look at them. And then the director is brand new. This is the first thing they're doing. So there's really nothing I have to go off of here, but it's an original work, which is cool. So I guess I'll keep an ear out and hear if people like it or not. It seems a little too video gamey to be that good, but you never know. And the only genre listed is music, but again, that could be, you know, not quite accurate because you never know. So yeah, I'll keep an ear out and hear what people think of, because especially because the writer hasn't done much and the director is brand new, so you never know how this could turn out. But you know. Moving on, we have Wakaku Sake. 26-year-old Wakaku drinks different kinds of sake at bars alone every night, searching for her place to belong. Basically, it's about this not a housewife, but this woman, 26 years old, can't really get anywhere. Well, other than, you know, as far as relationship wise, like pretty much a loner, goes to work and drinks like every night. But it is they're 3-minute shorts. It's interesting. The manga's actually been running since like 2011, so it's apparently a lot of things happen, or there's a lot of ideas to keep it going. And the main woman is being voiced by Miyuki Sawashiro. So this is basically Miyuki Sawashiro's drunk bar hopping, which is like the most appealing synopsis you could ever give to me. Because I love Miyuki Sawashiro, and seeing her drunk bar hop sounds like the greatest thing in the universe. So I'm on board for these shorts. I really hope that someone picks them up, because I would like them. Fuck. It's Miyuki Sawashiro. Even if no one picks it up, I'll probably just fucking watch the Raws, because I don't even give a shit about what she's saying. I just want to see her drunk bar hop and have things happen. The animation is probably going to be pretty minimalistic, because it's by Office DCI, which I've never heard of before. And they're 3-minute shorts, so again, probably minimalistic animation, but who really gives a shit? Miyuki Sawashiro is what we're here for. Moving on, we have God Eater. In the early 2050s, unknown life forms called oracle cells begin their uncontrolled consumption of all life on Earth. In the face of an enemy completely immune to conventional weapons, urban civilization collapses, and each day humanity is driven further and further toward extinction. Following the development of God Arcs, living weapons which incorporate oracle cells, their wielders are organized into an elite force in a world ravaged by mad gods. These God Eaters fight a desperate war. I don't know how I read that so quickly, considering how many fucking proper nouns were in there that were brand, like, new just for this title. Wow, how'd I do that? I wish I could do that all the time. I used to, then I got shit, and then I couldn't do it anymore. I don't know, it's weird. Anyways, basically, the first thing that you should notice, there's 2 things you should notice, is that this is being adapted from a game, so it's like, But then also, it's being done by Ufotable, which everyone likes for their animation, and, well, everyone likes them for their art, but they say animation. I still hold the very firm opinion that the Ufotable's animation isn't that great. It's not that it's bad, it's just okay. It's their art that's really, really good. Anyways, hang on, let me scroll down my notes. So it's interesting that they're doing something other than Fate Stay Night, which kind of makes me want to watch it, because it'd be nice to see them do something that's not Fate Stay Night, because I don't care about Fate Stay Night. But the staff are interesting. Although all I really wrote about was the director. The director did the 5th Kara no Kyokai movie. I don't know what the opinion is on that. It seems like every Kara no Kyokai movie has like a differing opinion on it. So I don't know what people think of the 5th Kara no Kyokai movie, but that's the one the director did. He also did some other movie Ufotable did called Sakura no Ondo. I don't know anything about it, but the poster was pretty. But it's also important to note that he directed, wrote, and storyboarded Gyo. You know that show with the fucking fish and sharks on legs that everyone watched and laughed at because it was so fucking stupid? He did that. Admittedly, it is an adaptation, but it's also important to notice that Ufotable was the team that did Gyo. People seem to forget that. Gyo did that. Or, Ufotable did Gyo. I'm getting my words mixed up. So you really never know what you're gonna get. But I kind of want to watch it. I'm probably going to watch it just because I want to see Ufotable do something that's not Fate Stay Night. If it sucks, I'll drop it, which honestly wouldn't be too surprising considering it's in a game adaptation. You know how they usually go. Game adaptations rarely turn out well.